Welcome to Cloud Dialogues. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay, we're back. Hello, everyone. Hey, Georgia. We're back for another Cloud Dialogues episode. It's been a while between drinks,
It
hasn't it?
has, it has. We had a bit of a summer break.
Yeah, winter break,
Winter
summer
break for
break.
you, summer
Depends
break
where you
for
are,
me.
really.
Although I was in Australia
How many
for a
countries
bit.
have you been to in the last
Yeah,
few
there's been a
months?
few, right? Let's think about that for a second. I mean, obviously I was in Australia. Where did I stop over? I stopped over in America. I was in Dallas. Um, and then I was in LA and I was in Switzerland with a customer. I was in France. Is that it? And then obviously the UK. I think that's everything. No, have I been somewhere else? I think.
Yeah, that's four. No,
Okay.
that's all. I
Yeah.
think that's all that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Four
Yeah.
countries. Hey, did your train go through multiple countries to get to Switzerland?
That's actually a good question. I
Do we
don't
count
know.
that?
No, because France and Switzerland are like together,
It's just
right?
France
Yeah,
next to
yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah. They're like together. Because you can like easily cross the
It's probably
border.
a valid
Nobody even
question.
checks your passport when you cross the border, which I find really strange. Yeah,
Oh,
no, there's no level of like, I mean, not at least any that I experienced. So yeah, no, it's good. It's good, good.
cool. Nice, nice. And so you're coming to the end of summer and the weather's starting to. We've got fake spring at the moment. You know, Melbourne
Like
has the
spring.
fake spring where it looks all nice and then
It's bloody
and then next
freezing.
week it'll be
Yeah,
cold again. That's right.
yeah,
That's probably what's going to happen.
yeah.
Let's have some news. I mean, there's been some news. We're not going to cover 3 months
No,
of news because that would bore
look
our
at the last
listeners. I
couple of weeks,
think.
maybe.
Yeah. Well, we were going to record last week, but that's okay. We were recording this week, so kind of covers relatively recent news. We've got, well, the one that I like is this new Gemini model, which is called Nano Banana. I don't even know how it got
Matt's
its name,
obsessed with
Nano
Nano
Banana.
Banana. Like he sends me these messages about it. I'm like, I don't even know what this
Freaking,
is. What are you talking about?
oh yeah, did you see that
I
message I
did,
sent
I
you?
did.
That
So it's an
you
image.
can prompt it with
It's
JSON,
pretty,
so you can
it's pretty
actually,
schmick, hey. This is probably the best imagery from any of the models.
yeah, it is the best imagery that you can do now. Remember back in the day when you got, I don't know, it was the early GPT one, what was it called? I forget. There was always doing images of like five fingers and three heads. I don't know, well, maybe or not three heads, but very
Lots of
anatomically
fingers.
incorrect
Lots
bodies
of
and stuff.
fingers.
That's
Actually, the other
right.
day, Bobby sent me like an image of me. I can't remember if I sent it to you or not, with some characters, and it had
No.
5 fingers, and I was really impressed. I was like, "That's really impressive." I was not expecting it to have 5 fingers. It was like a perfect hand. I was like, "Wow."
That was probably Nano Banana. The Gemini, yeah, so it's Gemini 2.5 Flash. That's the official boring name. But the idea is that you can give it a prompt or an image or something, like it's multimodal, so you can give it an image if you want as well. And it gives a very specific, you know, generates a very specific representation of what you're asking for. And the new thing is that you can use JSON prompts, so you can be very specific on all the different things in it. Like if the window is fogging up, you can say window, make
I
sure
need
it's,
this for
slightly
storyboards.
fogging
I need
up.
this for storyboards. It's like
Yes,
such a
yes,
nightmare trying to
yes.
get, because
I was,
typically, and this is probably going to sound really bad, people are going to cancel me for this, is like typically when you create storyboards, you have to go back and forward with an artist for like weeks to try and get it right. I just feel
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
this makes that so much, and I know that's bad, right? Because we're taking someone's job away, but it just sounds so much easier. Just like get AI to generate the prompt, to get like tell AI the story and ask it to give you all the details, and then just whack that into Nano Banana storyboard. There you go.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, so we'll talk about that in the next part of the show when we give our
I do
feedback on it
wonder as
because
well,
it's
like
nice
this,
little.
like as the video and imagery AI improves, how much ability it will have to like edit TikToks and stuff further to the rest of our conversation. Like, because obviously to date, there's been this
Yeah.
whole thing about like, well, you don't want to use AI to produce content because it's really obvious. But as it becomes less obvious, it's like, how much do we actually, I mean, I don't know.
Well, there is the VO3, right, that Google have as well, which does videos. So Nano Banana can team up quite well with VO3 to do some videos and potentially edit videos. That's
Yeah. Oh
underutilized, I
yeah.
know.
Oh my God. I hate the editing. It's like a nightmare. It's like editing for TikTok, editing for podcasts. It's just a lot of work. Cool. And then there's a
Yeah.
new coding model, Matt.
Yes, there is Kimi K2. It's been around for a few months, but then there was an update a couple of weeks ago. So Kimi K2 is almost as good as, so it comes out of Moonshot AI, which is a 2-year-old Chinese AI lab. So all the good things are coming out of China. And so Moonshot AI is apparently inspired by Pink Floyd's album, The Dark Side of the Moon. So we love a bit of Pink Floyd. So Kimi K2 is pretty much a coding model, almost as good as, well, some people say as good as Sonnet for
I think
Claude
it
4
depends
for
on
coding, which is what
I think it
everyone
depends
uses
on the code base though, doesn't it, Matt? Because I feel like coding models are very unique to what you're trying to do. Like
a lot of the
yeah,
time.
yeah. Like I know obviously we tried Kimi K2 on our code base and it wasn't great, right? Like it didn't really understand the
Yep.
complexity of our code base, whereas Claude, I think, is much better for what we're
Yeah, it
trying to
did.
do. So it really depends what you're trying to do. Like if you're throwing up websites and stuff, then probably that's your
Yeah, it's
cheap and cheerful option, right?
front end,
Yeah.
front end. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
bad,
but
apparently.
if you're doing stuff that's complex on the back end, then Claude probably still. I'm interested to hear what other people think. Like, what are other people's, especially for back end, because back end gets so complicated, right?
Yeah.
What else are people using for their back end? I'd be interested to
Yes.
hear. Let us know.
And it's also the other point is it's 3 to 5 times cheaper than Claude.
That's pretty
So
good. The thing is like just price,
yeah,
the lowest price you can get. Claude is a
try
bit
it.
expensive, but it is good for doing certain things. Having said that, I will say I've cancelled my Claude
Yeah.
code.
Oh,
Yep. Yep. It's
cancelled.
cancelled because I'm just doing front end stuff at the moment, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's always there's Queen Coder as well. I haven't used that one, but there's going to be a lot of sort of back and forth, I think, with these
Mm,
models.
mm. Things are developing
And
quickly.
there's rumors that another Claude will be out soon,
Yep.
probably. So
Yep.
it's probably due. One of the cool things that I saw recently
Minecraft.
was this thing on LinkedIn. And hang on a second, let me just bring it up. And so someone put how many agents? 1,000 AI agents in a Minecraft world. And it was absolutely lots of, and when you've got all these agents in the Minecraft world all doing it with their own memories, doing their own thing, the agents decided, they formed roles, they voted on laws and all that sort of thing. And one example that they talked about was as they're building up their economy, they're all, selling things, making things and between each other. You'd think it was the merchants who are traveling around the villages and the islands who would trade the most, but actually, in this particular case, it was the priest because he was bribing all the townsfolk to convert. So he was making a lot of money from
At this
that.
point, I would like to remind everybody that AI is a reflection of us.
That's right, exactly. So, yeah, if there's any shortcuts in the world, I mean, all the AIs have been trained on what everyone does. So obviously, it's probably no surprise to anyone. There was also someone did a simulation of a Trump versus Kamala as well, where there was a constitution in Google Docs and all their little agents were, voting. And when Trump was in power, his platform was around increasing the number of police in the world and having criminal justice reform and removing, and then Kamala was about removing the death penalty so it's like, it's reflections of those people. And,
Interesting.
if you've got a
I don't
certain number of
feel
people
I don't
voting,
like the death penalty. I just think it's a bit of an easy way out. Like I know it's not in that like it's there's clear evidence that shows that that's not a good process. It's not a humane process, right?
yes,
Um which I
exactly.
think, but then also I just think like if you die, you're not actually paying for your crimes. I mean, not really. Like
No,
I
that's right.
there's lots of things that I would rather die than do. That's the easy way out.
I know it's the easy way out. Do something bad, so kill you in the
Honestly,
end.
like, I
But
also think that
anyway,
there should be more police. Even the UK, like, it's clear that we don't have enough police to chase up all those people that are stealing phones. No one's ever being held accountable, right? I mean, I do think the situation has improved a little bit, but like not massively. And I think the police are. I feel sorry for the police every time I have any sort of dealing with the police, which unfortunately in London is quite regularly. I
quite,
feel bad for them, and they're always so nice. They're always every experience that I've had with the
yeah,
British police and the Australian police for that matter, and probably the American police. It's always been good. It's always been good.
yeah. So
Fully
in
aware that that's a
AWS
privilege to
news,
take. Sorry,
oh,
just
that's
want to
right. Yeah,
caveat that by saying I'm fully aware that that's a privilege to take. Right, go back. AWS.
yeah, and not everyone has
No, not
that.
everybody has that
Not
experience.
everyone has that
Yes, I know.
experience, and sometimes they do have to do better. But most of
Don't
the
we
good
all,
things they're
right?
trying to
Don't
do
we
a
all?
good job. Yes. So AWS news, New Zealand region is open.
Yay!
Do you know when they? Do you know when they originally
Was it like
announced this,
2020?
Georgia? Well, you would because you're looking at the
Was it? I'm
notes.
not. It was 2020. Okay, I was
2021.
close. I wasn't looking at the notes. I wasn't looking at the notes. I was just trying to
Okay.
recall from my living memory if I was, because I think I was at AWS when they announced it.
Yeah. 2021. So that was what took them 4 years. And I think it was supposed to be open last year, but for whatever reason, it took an extra year. So I think they had a cloud day recently. So
Cool.
there was lots of celebrations, and I'm going to New Zealand next week
Yay!
for Community Day in Wellington.
Don't forget to
So
register.
that'll be fun. Yeah, the registration closes tomorrow, so it's probably by the time this comes out, registration will be closed.
Oh well.
We got GPT-5, which everyone was raving about a few weeks ago. It's so the good. So I'll tell you what the good thing about GPT-5 is, and it was probably a month ago it came out now. When you search for something that it doesn't know, like if you ask it a question about something it doesn't know, if you go to Claude, usually Claude's not great at searching for things out of its knowledge base by default. Whereas if you go to GPT-5, it really does a good job of really finding the information. So I was talking to someone about some football,
Mm.
AFL games and history of the club that I follow. And I wanted to know how many times we played in Tasmania, and how many times we'd won. And Claude had no idea. It actually, I think it hallucinated
Yeah.
some numbers. But GPT-5 actually
Went and found
ended
it.
up searching. Found so there's a website called AFL Tables, which is like basically got all the stats of every game pretty much ever, and it actually took like 5 minutes to go through all the stats for the last
And
number of
check
years
it.
for the games of, and it summarized it. So it actually, and that was without any prompting to tell it to do that. So GPT-5 is actually really good for things that potentially it's not trained on, and but it can go and sort of augment its information by doing some searching. So that's I'm not sure what that's called, but I think there's a name for it. But
I
I
feel
can't
like
remember it
Claude
offhand.
is
But
really
anyway,
good for analyzing information that you have. It's really good for like analyzing
yeah,
unstructured data, right? That's the main thing that I use Claude for. And then of course coding is like anything, it is really good for coding. Um, but
yeah,
GPT, yeah, it is good that it will very quickly go and propagate like external sources of data, which is massively useful, right? Having
yeah.
said that, I did use Claude
Everything,
to develop a paper recently that included quite a variety of research, and I did go and check everything that was in there, and it was solid. Like I couldn't really find any major
did a
yeah,
good job.
yeah, because I think you have to really be really good with your prompting. Like if you're trying to develop documents based on data that's available in the world, you need to ask it to give you the references. Like you need to tell it to check the references, and then it will send an agent
Yes,
to do that, right? So I do feel like it can be good, but yeah, for shorter form stuff, then I would just use GPT.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, really. It's moving so fast. This year is like
It's
headed AI in
madness.
a very very fast direction, and it hasn't finished yet. I can guarantee you that.
Indeed.
There was some news about a month ago around Australia. So I think part of the last election was some AI laws, was a promise to have some government regulation of the technology, but the Productivity Commission just came back with a report that said it didn't recommend specific AI laws, and the government might be thinking of dumping that plan. So there's a bunch of people who are not happy about it, but I think it's probably you don't want to regulate too quickly. You need to see
Agree.
how things how
I
things
think the
progress,
EU
and
has
things are
made that
progressing
error.
extremely
I think the
fast.
EU has made that error is that they regulated so quickly that now they're not seeing any advancement in the region. And I think that that's partly, I mean,
Okay,
I do
yeah,
think it's partly a like investment thing as well. Obviously, America's very open to private investment. I think the EU is more reserved in that sense, but I think they are risking that. I think it's too early. I think it's too early is my like probably, what's the word? I would probably consider myself to be a bit liberal in terms of the world, not in terms of the Liberal
yeah,
Party.
yeah.
Liberal
That's
as in
right.
like,
If you're in America, liberal, yeah, and in Australia, liberal means
yeah,
something
well,
different
I mean,
to
it's
America.
sort
There's
of,
probably history
yeah, it's
around
just
that.
annoying that there's a party called that and they are a bit right. They are a bit,
I
they do
know,
seem a bit right. I mean,
exactly.
maybe they're more centered these days, but I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, this is not a politics show.
We go in that direction. It's
Everything is
everything
politics
seems to be
that we
politics.
do here.
Yeah,
Like
let's
what
not
we were
go
talking about
too
before the
close to
show.
it.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. So I think watch this space and see what's happening there. I think, yeah, I think the providers are providing. There's a lot of guardrails being put in place, a lot of protections, and hopefully it can self-regulate itself. Although there's not that many competitors, so it's a little bit of a worry there. But when you've only got really OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, really is the main sort of model providers, with obviously all the other Chinese and open source models sort of around as well. But we'll see what happens there. Some Oracle news to close out the news section. So this week, Larry Ellison became the richest man in the world. I don't know if he's ever had that title before, but he passed
I don't know who that
Mr.
is.
Musk.
I don't even know who that is.
Larry Ellison, yeah, the guy who runs Oracle. 300 billion. Oh, hang on. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong
God, who would
thing.
have thought that Oracle would be like the
Oh,
biggest?
yeah, I
That's
know. It's
crazy.
crazy. So the reason why he became the richest man in the world is
Of the
because of
OpenAI
the
deal.
Oracle 300 billion, yeah, OpenAI deal, $300 billion. So a few months ago, if you recall, there was a mystery customer that that Oracle announced to market of $30 billion, but they didn't announce the name, and everyone assumed it was OpenAI. Turns out that wasn't the OpenAI as a customer, but the deal ended up being 300 billion. So I don't know if there's misreporting
Interesting.
there, or if that was the wrong number, or if it was underquoted, or whatever. That's just insane. I don't like
I
that's a
always
big
think of
deal.
Oracle
Just
as like
think
really
of
old school, but I mean, they've obviously taken this massive strategic play to manage infrastructure, right?
Yeah, they've been doing that for 10 years now. They were late to cloud, like IBM
Yeah,
were, but they
it's
but they
impressive.
seem to have
I'm impressed.
made and they've made deals with all the so they were smart because they had deals with Microsoft and now and Google and now Amazon to provide Oracle databases in their cloud environments. So it means that you can easily migrate your cloud database, your Oracle database into any of the cloud providers, and it can be managed by Oracle as part of as a managed service. So
Amazing.
it's low latency connection, and they've got their own cloud as well, which is probably number three or four or five, I guess. But yeah, they've done pretty well, really, for more in less than 10 years when starting from behind as well. I think that's kind of
Bit for the
it
news.
from the news. Yep, that's it from the news. Okay, so now we probably want to give our audience an update of our agents experiment, which has kind of been a little bit slow over the summer, actually, but we've made a little bit of progress.
Unfortunately, we've been busy with other things.
That's right. There's other things that, are important, but that's okay. We probably have some time to get back to this now.
All right, so where did we get to?
So I think we decided on the content co-creator as the name.
Well, I think that was the
Well,
working
the
name.
type
That was
of
the working name, right?
the working name. Yeah, we're still
Hmm.
coming up with the actual name.
It's really hard to find
And
options for that. I tried to find options for that, and it was hard.
that's right.
It's like everything's taken or like ridiculously expensive. You can come up with a unique name.
Yeah, the naming's like half
It
the
is.
battle,
It's like the first, you gotta like work that out together and then just quickly buy the domain and then you're done.
right? Yes. I guess the idea behind this was, you could probably explain it better than me, but I'll have a go. So if a person wants to post on social media, uh, while they've probably got ideas at the time when they want to do it, sometimes they need to be prompted to, they might be doing certain things in their life, or, if the system had a view of their calendar, of what activities they were doing, then it could come up with, some prompt ideas, or some, ideas of things to post based on those sorts of activities. So that's kind of the sort of thing. And in theory, it can come back with some help on the types of things that sort of get views, types of content, types of audio, types of, you know, uh, even just an outline storyboard of how a user, how the person, should do this particular sort of reel or video or TikTok or whatever, um, but to sort of maximize its views. So that's kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people want to do more on social media, but they either like are a bit disorganized with it or they're like they don't always have the ideas, right? So if we could get AI to come up with some ideas based on, that person's like persona or their day to day, or like you said, their calendar, because that's one option. Um, then we could, in theory, help them to post more. And then obviously there's lots of data out there about, I mean, there's lots of data coming from different sources about what's trending and what's doing well. But then there's just also more like general ideas about what does well on social media for like certain types of creators. So our kind of thought was originally that we would do we would kind of focus on maybe like lifestyle kind of creators, because I guess that captures like quite a significant portion of creators, right?
Yeah.
um and we sort of looked at, and Matt, I don't know if you want to dive into quickly like all the different types of data that we could, because there are a number of different data sources like APIs that collate social media data. um and to clarify, I think we're probably thinking originally like for first and foremostly TikTok, but do you want to dive into the data sources and where we got to with that? Because that was like a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rabbit hole. There's actually, the social media giants keep all their APIs behind a paywall, or if they have any at all, that people can use. So there's not actually that many options out there. There is one called APIify, which is well known. It's basically a community of people who have built ways to scrape these, social media like TikTok, Instagram, you name it, and they whack them behind an API that you pay for. Not as much as the native APIs, obviously, which the native APIs can go for thousands of dollars. So even Twitter is ridiculous for purchasing the native API. There was a couple we tried, but API-FI seemed to work fairly well. And there's even that product itself has a sub community inside it of creators building these APIs. So you've got to find the right one for the need. So we actually spent quite a lot of time researching these, and it was a little bit, hit and miss. But I think we landed on a couple. One that we wanted to do was to find trending videos and grab the transcripts from the audio, and then you can compare the high trending videos with their transcripts, and then even get AI to analyze those and come up with an idea based on what the
That's
user
really
actually
about
did.
getting
So
trending audio,
that's the sort of
right? The
thing.
trending audio that's not songs,
Yes,
because songs are one thing, but
yeah, and trending audio that's not songs is also a tricky one. But again, we found an API that can potentially do that. But then some techniques around that. So that was a little bit of a rabbit hole we went down to figure out, how we could get that data. But it turns out after a bit of looking around, the LLMs actually themselves have good knowledge on the types of social
I
posts that
guess they
might
do,
work.
but it's not super data driven, right? So they're not using like
Correct. Yeah.
APIify to actually look at the data and analyze what's trending. They are more so looking at like creator blogs and what have like written media to understand what might work well, which I think is still value add, but it probably doesn't go to the, I mean, right now we don't necessarily like if you use APIify and you, what did we do, Matt? We put it through a bit of a like we tried to find the highest trending audios or like things that had gone up over the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it was quite difficult to find some of the stuff that came out of that exercise was weird. And I think that's the thing as
Yeah.
well as,
There's weird
yeah,
stuff and
there
good
is there's
stuff.
good stuff and weird stuff, and actually finding a way to like mechanically separate those things was really difficult, right? So we don't have a solution for that right now. So that's something that we need to come back to. But I think it gave us some good stuff, but then some of the stuff that came out of there was just weird. But then I don't know, maybe that's a matter of like training the model, Maybe that's a matter of being like, no, that's weird. Don't give me that. Give me something else. And
Yeah, that's right. Less like this, more like
yeah,
that. So
yeah,
yeah, we've
yeah.
got to get back to it and
We got to work out how we're going to do
and
that. I don't know how we're going to
um,
do that.
yeah, we'll work
We'll work on
we'll
that.
work it out.
Yeah.
We have so I guess the idea is that because we have these APIs, we can the idea with agents is that you can delegate specific tasks to specific like you might have um, this is the person's calendar. Go to an agent to figure out what they should
Mm,
post about, and it comes back and distills that information. So an agent is about doing a whole bunch of work and distilling that information back to the main sort of logic of the code. So that's what an agent is. So it's just a bunch of effectively different
mm,
prompts to do a bunch of things, usually via a tool or an API. Do that research, like deep research. That's
mm,
another. It's kind of similar to deep research in that you've got to come up with the prompt to do the research based on the user's intent, return that prompt, use that prompt to do the research, to go to a research agent, do some web searches, come back with the raw data, and then go to another agent, which grabs that raw data and distills that into what the user intended
mm,
in their output. And then you might send it to another one, which might be like a markdown or a PDF agent, which returns um, that data in a easy to read format. So it's about having sub. It's a different way of building apps to what people have done in the past, and you can have a workflow that goes like that, but sometimes it might be back and forward. And as long as you've got a good prompt for each of the agents on what they're good at, then the LLM it basically can decide where it needs to go for the next task to be able to answer the user's sort of question at the very beginning. So that's the experiment that we're going to continue on. The other thing that I actually did recently, someone told me that TikTok is better for It's more balanced from what might go trending rather
I think it's more organic,
than
right? This is the
Instagram.
thing, is that
Yeah,
they are vastly different algorithms as well. And then that's like important to understand for product development, is that what you're if you're and I know people that have, like, I know someone in London that has 1 million followers on TikTok. Guess how many they have on Instagram? Guess how many they have on
really.
Instagram? Just take a wild guess as to how many they have on Instagram. Half,
50,000?
half. So they have about
Oh,
500K,
wow.
500K followers in Instagram, and they've used exactly the same strategy. And I think that's a really good example, right, of why it's difficult. Like, it's a completely different way of working. I think it's a lot it's a lot harder to get followers on Instagram as opposed to it is on TikTok. And I think that's largely driven by the algorithms are vastly different. TikTok is supposedly more organic. I think TikTok is more like community based. And I think that comes back to their like payment models
Mm.
as well. Like, people always say, I don't make any money off Instagram. I make a lot of money off TikTok. And we talk about that
Ah, that's
issue in
all.
the
Yeah,
US, that they were
that's
trying to
interesting as
they were
well.
trying to kill the whole thing, and obviously lots of people were upset because that was their main source of income, right? Um, so I think
Mm.
these are important things to understand from a product development perspective as well. And I think largely you've got to focus on one instead of trying to cover everything, right? Like, if you can do one thing really well, then that's better than like doing a bunch of things half baked.
Yeah. So I actually asked Claude this. I was curious. So before the show, I asked Claude the difference between
Oh,
TikTok and
did you?
Instagram
I
algorithms,
was
and
reading about
basically,
this the other
it
day.
told me it told me that TikTok is basically, even accounts with this very small number of followers, might be in the teens, can go viral if their content resonates. So um, there's no waiting on the number of
Mm,
followers for someone to go
mm,
viral, which is a little bit very different to Instagram, because Instagram relies on boosting people who have high followers, and the relationships between those followers, and they're that helps their content go viral. But you've got to have a substantial following for that to happen. If you're or other larger accounts, you know, might share your stuff, then maybe you'll get somewhere. But if you don't have a huge following, then Instagram is a lot harder
mm,
to reach people.
yeah.
And I think that so I think Claude's probably spot on from what people were telling me around that. So
Yeah, I think so. They are very different. They are very different.
it's like Instagram started life as a photo app, right? And then
Yeah.
Reels were added later, whereas TikTok's been video pretty much ever since it started. And it's about high turnover of scrolling through your For You page, really.
Yep.
So, yeah, very, very different. Edit point. Is there anything else you want to?
Um, but I think we should just talk about what the MLP looks like.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Um,
Edit point. So, what we're going to build. So, we like to talk about MLPs, minimum lovable
Well,
products.
I think this is like
And
it's a bias for action, because you can wait
yeah,
and try and work out what the perfect like algorithm, and obviously Instagram and TikTok, or like, everything is designed in a way that they don't want you to hack the algorithm, right? And to be honest, it might breach their terms of service. I don't know, right? But I was like, look, I think we can produce an app that helps creators to come up with ideas and helps manage their ideas, that maybe doesn't
yeah,
require us to use data from like APIify, given that that's a difficult nut to crack, right? We're looking at the data that's coming out of that. Some of it's good, some of it's not. But there's definitely like a way that we can build something that will still be useful to users, whilst we work on cracking that nut as well. And I think one thing we need to work out, Matt, is like how we can, and like probably beyond the very minimum level product. 'Cause I think we're going to throw up some code next week, aren't we? When we have some time on Sunday.
yeah. Well, Yeah, we'll do some
Um,
next week.
but like, oh, what was I going to say? Edit point. Um, oh yeah, sorry, edit point. I think also one of the other things that we need to try to work out is how we might gather data from users. Like if we launch the MLP, then we can gather data from users around like what they find useful, potentially like how do we create the feedback loop of like what went well and what didn't, and then feeding
yeah,
that back into. I would say as well though, in this space, I don't know if you noticed that edits came out the other week. I haven't used it yet. So I think that that's sort of playing in
oh
a
no,
similar
I didn't see
space.
that.
That's sort of playing in a similar space, right? So Instagram has launched edits. So basically, they've got their own editing
Oh,
app, right? Which is quite interesting. But some of it is like inspirational, which I think is that I think that's a signal to us that this is something that's needed, right? And at the moment for TikTok, there isn't really a thing that does that. So I think, a lot of the time I think people that are trying to create businesses will look at that and go, "Oh, someone's already created it. There's no point." You know, well, that's not well, like A, who says you can't do
you
it
can
better?
try.
But B, like if someone else has created something that you're thinking about, obviously there's a requirement for it in the market, right? That's a positive signal to you as a creator, as a developer of businesses, and is that if someone else is doing it, then there's clearly a need for it. So it's a good thing.
And there's a lot of these apps in the market for helping social help can crack that social. But edit point. What am I saying? Edit point. There's a lot of apps in the market that provide these help to people trying to come up with ideas to post on social media. So everyone has their own take and different point of view, and there must be demand for it, or there
Absolutely.
wouldn't be all these apps out there.
Absolutely. All right. So, Matt, do you want to talk about the MLP? What are we doing with the MLP?
So MLP, we are going to do a quick sort of little web app, I guess, that takes, it'll ask the user the sorts of things that they like, the sorts of things that they do, the sorts of things that they like, passionate about, because what you're passionate about is what you'll post about really well. It might take a feed of their calendar, see what they've been doing, and George has come up with a nice little prompt, and we might, adjust that slightly, but we'll use it as sort of as a working
Prompt
prompt to come
engineering.
up with
Again,
some
it's the most
ideas. Prompt
important skill
engineering,
right now. The most important skill right now is prompt
that's
engineering.
that's right, and we might even use some Nano Banana to do some storyboards or something. So, you know, give the person some ideas on what they could do, what it could look like. If they storyboards. I don't think many TikTokers or Instagram Reels people probably build out storyboards. I don't know. Maybe the pros do. I'm not sure. But if something comes to you without you having to do any effort, it might help you.
Absolutely.
Might help your ideas with props or stuff as well.
If you can go and
So that's what we're going to
create
build.
that and then see how it goes, and build a scale of that, I think that could be really powerful.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just an experiment for us to do some agent stuff, and probably we might even eat our own dog food as well.
Absolutely.
We
Dog
probably will.
fooding is absolutely important. Hopefully everyone knows what that is.
Dog
Hopefully
fooding.
everyone knows what that is.
For those that don't, uh, use what you build and make it better.
Absolutely.
Basically, that's what it means. Sometimes people don't do that, and it tells in the product. It's not great. Great. So yeah, dog fooding is super important, especially as part of an MLP, minimum level product. A product that people will love to use. That's what we're building, and I think that's the end of the show for
We
this
will
week.
be we will over the next couple of weeks, we've got a couple of things going on. So we'll do another agents episode in the next like month or so, but then also we're planning to do an episode on, we've got a couple of guests lined up to talk about renewables and data center power supply, edit point, and data center power supply. which is obviously something that we talk about a lot on Cloud Dialogues, but I think is a really interesting subject. So details to come shortly. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can come along the agent's journey with us. Watch us sling up some bad code.
Yes, that's right. And we always love your feedback at cloud-dialogues.com. Please send it to us or message us. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
God, I'm